All right. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for coming and to actually share your experience about the Vanier scholarship that you just won. Congratulations once again. We are very proud of you.
Yeah, so thank you, Kunle. It's a privilege. Thank you for I don't know, deeming it fit to feel like you want to hear my story and probably share with other people. Thanks again for the congratulatory messages. It's I think it's been interesting this past couple of weeks, especially since the announcement was made. It's just everything had just blown out of proportion. I was just like, God, how did I get here? So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, concerning Venia, I don't know how you want us to do this, but just a brief, maybe just give a brief intro about myself, I guess.
Yeah, I think
Or Venia first.
so. I think so. Let's just first meet you. So, can you tell us your name and then your previous like experience, yeah, the degrees that you have before now, and where you are, where you're coming from, and your past experience. Just to know you, your precedence before what you're currently doing in Canada.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Interestingly, I
Interestingly,
got to Canada
I go to Canada
in 2018. So prior to that, so I'll just give a little background about myself then. So my name is Emmanuel Balogun. Yeah, I'm not from Nigeria originally. I lived in Lagos, Nigeria, uh, but I'm from Ogun State. Yeah, undergrad. I did my undergrad at Obafemi Awolowo University, Ilefe. So I did engineering physics. So that was a pretty interesting course to study because I'd always wanted to do electrical engineering, but for some weird reason, I'm a Christian, right? So most of the things I tried to seek God face before making direction and doing stuff. So I decided to do engineering physics. I didn't know what engineering physics was all about, but I prayed a night earlier, like God just directs me. And I think I was praying with some people also, and they told them what they asked me what I wanted. I said, I want God to give me admission into the course of my choice. And they told me they're going to change the prayer that God will give me admission into the course of his choice. And I was like, oh, okay. Then I got to, then that was back then when you had to go fill jam from jam procure. So yeah, I ended up studying engineering physics. I was like, what's this? That's how I just changed my life course and choose engineering physics then. So I studied engineering physics, and to the glory of God, I finished in first class from OAU. I think I graduated in 2014. So after my undergrad, I did a little bit of industry thing. You know, when you leave in uni and you're like, I'm not going to school anymore. I just want to make this money. So I decided I was going to go work. So I worked a bit. I worked in an oil and gas firm for a bit. Then I left there. I think I worked in a bank. I left there. I worked as an IT person in another automation company. Then my last job was with Deloitte. So I worked with Deloitte doing tax. Can you imagine? I did all kind of jobs. So I've done, like I did engineering physics. I did recruitment consultant. Imagine the difference, the divide. Then I did tax. I was a tax consultant with Deloitte. I was an IT person with Bank of Industry. I was a field engineer with HR automations. I was just everywhere. So I didn't really have a sense of direction. And I realized I didn't really enjoy what I was doing. I was just doing it to make money. So along the line, I realized that maybe let me go back to school. Let's see what that would be like. And like many other Nigerians, I applied for so many scholarships around that period. You know, there's this thing that an average first class or someone that has a 2-1 from Federal University, you have this mindset like, all the scholarship are waiting for me. They showed me Pepe. As I was applying, I was rejected. I even got to almost the final stage of NLNG. I went for the final interview. I thought I was going to get a scholarship. I did it. So I continued my work. Then I got to know of someone sent me a message concerning Mandela Road Scholarship in South Africa. It was about leadership and everything like that. And I always had a mindset when I was younger that so far it's free, I'm going to apply. So far it's free, you are not charging me for it, right? So why stop myself from applying? The worst you can do is reject. And I've gotten so much thick skin that no rejection can pain me anymore. So I decided I was going to apply for the Mandela Road Scholarship. And they said you needed to have been involved in leadership. And I look at the people that have gotten that scholarship before. They were all doing amazing things. And I looked at myself, what leadership experience do I have? Almost nothing. So only thing I had was that I have a first class. That's the only thing. Apart from that, all my jobs, they're not really, like, you can't tell a story with it. So, but I did apply eventually, and I just trusted God that let your will be done. And that's how first and foremost, I got to the final stage, and I was invited to come to South Africa for an interview. I was like, even if I don't get this scholarship, this is the first time I'm traveling. So far, I'm going to enter aeroplane, I'm fine. Even if I don't get the scholarship. So far, I can enter aeroplane, no, I'm fine. I've never even been to the airport, talk less of entering aeroplane. And they said they were going to pay for everything, even my bus ride to the airport. They tell them to send me all my costs that I'm going to incur. They're going to cover everything. They even booked my plane tickets. I was like, wow, so this is how scholarships are. Then, so I took a weekend off work. I went to South Africa for the interview, and it was interesting. I got to see, that was my first time outside Nigeria, first time in an airplane traveling for that long. It was a whole new, different experience. So in South Africa, we did the interview. I realized that to go to interview, you don't need to wear suit and tie. I never knew that. I thought you must always wear suit and tie. So we had the interview, and I met so many amazing young Africans. And you see people and because it was open to Africans from all over the world, right? And you see young people from the US doing amazing things, and they are there for the interview also because they want to come study in South Africa under this scholarship. Like, this thing must be bigger than I thought it was. Then there's this imposter feeling. I don't know if you have such sometimes, but I do have it. I just feel like I don't belong here. This room is too big for me. The kind of people here, they are too special. It's not for somebody that grew up in Motion to come and stay into a place like this. If you grew up in Lagos, you know that there's Motion, there's Ajegule, and those kind of places. Like, it's not for someone like you. Like, just enjoy the moment and let it pass. But then I just sat out there and I was hearing people's story. I couldn't really share mine because I don't really have anything to tell. So I entered the interview then, and I remember asking, after we've spoken for like half an hour, I remember asking them, I said, are you sure that you guys are making the right decision, even choosing to interview me? Who says that in an interview? But I said that because it was so overwhelming. I felt like I wasn't like good enough. I was like, are you sure you're the right person? I remember the assistant director then just looked at me and laughed. She said, we know the right person when we see the right person. Don't worry about that. That's our job. That was our job. You just tell us your story. So I continued. I just told them everything I wanted to do. And I went back to work. And I think a week later, some of my amazing friends that I had met there, that I thought if this one don't get it, then who else would get it? They had called me like a day earlier. They were like, guy, we didn't make it. Then I was like, wow. So you guys, they called you to tell you didn't make it. Me, they never even deemed me fit enough to even call me. That means I was that terrible. So I just took my mind off it and all. But then I remember that they told us that if the director of operations call you, that means you didn't make it. But if you actually make it, it's the director himself, Sean Johnson, God bless his soul, he's late now, that will call you. So that day I was at work, and I was still at Deloitte. I was at the cafeteria, and I saw my phone ring, and I saw a South African number. And it was a lady that I spoke to. I said, she was like, okay, can you hold on for Sean Johnson? I just like, Sean Johnson, Sean Johnson. She was like, yeah. And the next thing I heard was, Emmanuel, welcome to Mandela Rose family. Imagine you're in a cafeteria at work with all these suit and tie. I just lost it. Like I was super excited. I was just like, wow. And since then, I just felt like the worst that can happen in life is for you to disqualify yourself before people actually tell you no. And oftentimes we do that to ourselves a lot. We feel we are not good enough because we think other people's stories are better than ours. Or maybe some of us that come from an humble background, we think that, oh yeah, who am I to be here? Who am I to be in this room? But then I realized that who are you not to be? Who are you not to be? Seriously. So yeah, that's how I got my master's scholarship. So I went to South Africa. I studied at so if you kind of check my name online, you will see a different school that is attached to me that did a profile on me for winning that scholarship, which was University of KwaZulu-Natal. That was the school I was supposed to attend initially for electrical engineering program. But then I was a bit uncomfortable there, so I switched to University of Cape Town. So I actually had my master's degree from the University of Cape Town, not the University of KwaZulu-Natal. So I was at the University of Cape Town, and I think I was there for like close to 2 years. But then in South Africa, the story was a bit different also. I think I'm saying a lot. If you need to interject, just let me know. Yeah. So I was at...
Yeah, I think there's a lot that you've said there, and you're not saying a lot. I mean, you're not saying too much because there's a lot of lessons to be learned in the statement that you've made. So, for example, one important thing that one should always, that you mentioned, that one should pay attention to is, you cannot just disqualify yourself before you even begin the race. That is so important. It's so important, and I think if you ask me to quantify it, this is one of the main reasons, maybe more than 50% of the reasons why people don't actually get what they want, because before they start, they actually quit. So they don't even start at all. So, and the issue of getting scholarship or coming abroad to study is just the same way. And personally, I've interacted with so many people. I cannot count the number since I got to Canada over the past 5-6 years. I cannot count the number of people that I've interacted with, and some of them have been successful. Some of them have been able to come to Canada or go to other countries like the US. But I can tell you that majority of them spoke with me and did nothing with it. That's just life. And one of my most important advice that I give is because there will be people that will be listening afterwards. You just have to apply. Yes, you have no excuse. You just have to apply, whether it's to grad school or it's to the scholarship or it's to the program. You just have to apply, right? And I will say it again: if you don't apply, you are guaranteed not to be admitted or not to get the scholarship. Guaranteed, 100%. We all know that. There is no way you'll be called upon. But if you do apply, yes, you have a chance. You have a chance of getting that call. Even if you doubt, just like you did with when you went to South Africa. Even if you doubt, there's still that chance that you could be selected. So very important. So there are so many things that you talked about, but I think I should point this out. So that's really interesting. So you went to Obafemi Awolowo University, and then you went to the University of Cape Town. That's great. So that's all before you came to Canada like 2 years ago. right?
Yeah, so I actually came to Canada, it's getting to 3 years now.
Okay.
One of the things I noticed was, okay, so when I was in South Africa, I think it's echoing from your end. I think it's better now. Yeah, so when I was in South Africa, I remembered that I knew the place of having someone to like kind of look over their shoulder, people that have been in the system before. And I remember one of the things that one of them told me, which I'm grateful I didn't really hold on to. He was like, be careful of some of these professors. They will just use it to write paper and that is it. And I knew that I've met so many young people, probably because of the education system in Nigeria. Many people don't get to have publications. I didn't even know that publication was a thing until I left the shores of Nigeria. So this person was now telling me that these professors, they will just overwork you. The reason they are happy that you're here is that they want to use it to write paper. You just be writing paper for them and that is it. But then I realized that if I write a paper, it's to my advantage because my name is on the paper and to the rest of eternity, that work, if anybody needs it, it will go there and it will reference me. So I discarded their advice. There were so many good advices I got, but I just wanted to point it out there that even in the case of listening to people, getting mentors, be careful of the kind of advice people give you. So what I did was that I made myself open. I was at UKZN for 3 months. And within those 3 months, I wrote a paper. And I didn't believe I could do that, but I did it. And it was something that gave me kind of this big confidence that, so this publication thing they are saying is not as extraordinary as the way they used to put it. And some people start with a rejection, which is also part of life, right? I told you I've also been rejected so many times, but my first academic paper, even though it was to a conference, it was accepted and it was published. And I attended the conference and it was amazing. So that brought me into the academia. Then when I left South Africa, I went to, when I left UKZN, I went to UCT and I started working. That's where I started working on fuel cell technology, which is the core of what I do right now. And yeah, back there also, I tried to, as much as possible, not just work, but because I did a research-based master's, I wasn't doing coursework. There were times that things were hard. There were times that things were very, very hard. But along the line, what I did was that because of the past successes I've had, I realized that failure is not final. It's just an opportunity for you to go back, regroup, and find another approach to it. Because you can't just throw in the towel. And I know that God has not brought me thus far to quit along the line. So I just always know that there's going to be a way to kind of move past that. So one thing I also started doing was that after some months into my master's program, I needed an exit strategy. The exit strategy was what's next after my master's? Am I actually going to work? Am I going to leave? I knew that I was going to leave South Africa. And then I started looking at opportunities abroad. This was not even up to 1 year into my program. I started looking at opportunities abroad because I knew I wanted to do my PhD abroad, not in South Africa anymore. So I started looking at things and I realized that publication is important. So I started trying as much as I could to do experiments, help people out. And even if it's conferences, if there's an opportunity for a conference, I would never say, oh no, I'm too lazy to write. I'll try to find a result. I work in the lab day and night. I thank God that everything is kind of paying off right now because it kind of make you look like, oh, you're this super guy that does super things. But I wasn't. I was just a guy that I realized that this was an opportunity and I need to make use of it. I had a lab that I had access to do whatever it is I wanted. I had people that were guiding me and funds were also provided for me to live my day-to-day activities because of the scholarship. So I decided to make the most of it. So I tried not to be too distracted. I worked more in the lab, even sometimes at night, stayed there, even when I needed not to, because I knew what I was going in for. And I know it's super competitive to get to most of this, come to Canada, for instance. Canada was not even in my plan. Canada was beyond me. I was looking at opportunities elsewhere. And Australia was very close to South Africa. That's where people used to go to. So I was looking at Australia, I was looking at China. So I was just doing that. But then I was doing my work and I was getting traction. I got an opportunity to go for a conference in the US because of the paper I wrote. I went to present it there. That was about the first time in the US. And those little victories, they started giving me this belief that I can also sit with kings and not mean men. And that was always my go-to scripture, Proverbs 22:29. See yet a man that is diligent in his business. He will sit with kings and not mean men. So there's that diligence. Anything I try to do, I try to put in diligence there so that that scripture will be fulfilled. As I used to say, he did not say see yet a Christian. He does not say see yet a Muslim. He says see yet a man. So any man, either you're a believer or not, there are some things prayer will not do for you. Diligence will do it. So any man, so far you're diligent, will sit with kings. So I tried to play the diligence part. So on coming to Canada, how Canada happened was, so I in my process of applying, and many people not really listening to me, then I devised a new strategy. I realized that the best way to get professors to listen to you is to show them why they should listen to you, not just send a generic mail that you copy online. It doesn't work because for you to think of copying it, a lot of people have also copied it. And so these professors, they know all these emails. When they even open it, they see it, they just close it. And imagine everybody from the world sending emails. They don't have time and they have to do research. They also have courses they have to take and everything. So one of the things I learned to do was that before I send a mail to a professor, for instance, I knew I was going to be in FUSEL. So for me to get professors to send emails to, I go to the latest, what's the word? I go to latest FUSEL conference that was at. So I look at the keynote speakers. Many of the keynotes, for you to be a keynote speaker, you must be a big professor. And for you to be a big professor, you have chances of having funding. So it means that I've reduced the chances of sending mails to people that don't have funding. Because some people will like you and they tell you they don't have funding and they can't bring you. So far they don't have funding. So I look at that. I also look at papers, and the last name oftentimes is often the supervisor. And if it's a big impact paper and something like that, that means the professor is a big guy. And yeah, that was just my own method. And for me to send a mail, what I used to do now, what I then now started to do was that I will read their most recent paper and I would try to see what I can add to that paper. Be like, oh, hello, professor, this. I read your paper on this. I think it's super interesting. Then I can ask a pretty interesting question. Have you ever thought about doing this in so way? I'm currently working on my master's program in so and so lab, and these are the things I've done. I don't know if you're actually looking to recruit a new student. If you are, I'll be happy to be considered and stuff like that. But I really appreciate if we can consider, like, I don't send in my CV also at once. I learned this over time for people because people did not respond to me. So I learned to put a new approach. And after a while, I began to get a lot of messages back from supervisors. So when I was finishing my master's, I applied for the Chinese government scholarship. I actually got that at Vanier University. I got RMIT scholarship in Australia. And I also got an offer from Canada, which is where I am currently. And coming to Canada has been interesting. Weird so is that Canada gave me the worst kind of admission in terms of funding. The funding you get here is so minute. And another part of the story was I told you I did engineering physics, my undergrad. My master's, I went back to that electrical engineering that I've always wanted to do. I went to do it, and to the glory of God, I had a distinction. So because I told you I was applying to professors and not to courses. So I was just looking at people that took my fancy and people that were in my space. So the person that I wanted to work with was in chemistry. And so I have to switch to chemistry. And that was the challenge, because I have to take chemistry courses and I've never really done chemistry apart from chemistry 101 and 102 in OAU back then. So they took me, my supervisor accepted me for a PhD, But the school said, we looked at his transcript. It doesn't really have anything that has to do with chemistry. We're not sure about this kind of hire. But even if it's going to come, we're not going to directly put him into that PhD program. He needs to like do 1 year kind of program, then switch. Then I discussed with my proposed supervisor, and he said it's a good offer that I should take it. But then in RMIT in Australia, they were offering me almost ×3 of what SFU, of what my school year in Canada was offering me. I was going to be in engineering, I think mechanical and automobile engineering, and I was going to be fine. In China, I was under Chinese government scholarship. I was going to be in automobile engineering department, and it looked good. I think it was almost ×2. So I was now spot for choice, but then me being me, and I don't know, I felt like God ordered my steps. I chose Canada instead. I came to Canada. I regretted this decision every day after going to Canada since I came, because it was hard. It wasn't very easy. Switching to chem, I used to feel like, oh God, how I wish I had gone to Australia. I kept thinking that in my mind. How I wish I had gone to Australia. Look at all these chemistry courses I have to do. But then I understand something about the principle of success. Success is, you can succeed in any way. The ingredient is always the same. Like I told myself I succeeded in sciences. I succeeded in engineering. I can still succeed in this chemistry thing. All I just need to do was do the same thing I've always done, be diligent. So because I was taking graduate chemistry courses, which I don't have the undergraduate background, I have to do twice the work. And I also had to do research. So what I did was that I focused more on my courses in my first year. I did not really focus 100% on research because I was just learning. I was just learning how to use the equipment and stuff. I focused more on my courses. And when we go to class, before they give us the course outline for whatever it is we're going to do. I don't just read what they are teaching us. I go to find book that will explain the rudimentary to me. And to top all that, I needed to work as a teaching assistant. So it was a very hectic schedule. The money was not much. And you've been in Canada for a while. You know, people that know you're in Canada, they think you have arrived. So there's that pressure for question and stuff also that you need to kind of meet up with. So it was just so much pressure. But yeah, I tried to be diligent. I tried to work really as smart as I could. And I tried to, I put a goal for all my courses. I was going to get A's in all my courses, irrespective. There was a course my supervisor actually told me not to do, that was too difficult. And coming here, the way I came, I had to prove to people I knew, because I was like brought on trial because of my background and everything. So it was hard. I had to prove that I knew, so I had to do extra work. So anytime they asked me not to do something that would be too hard for me, I took it as a challenge, like I'm really, really gonna work hard on this. So I did that course. Interestingly, I got an A. I was like, oh, I can get an A in the chemistry course. I can do this. I can do this. Then I took another course. That was very hard. That was my supervisor's course. I think I did the first test on that course. I had a 50 something. And I was like, wow, this is dead. But then I told myself that I was still gonna, I have no choice, right? I can't go back home now. I'm already here, I need to make this work. So in the finals, I ended up getting a B+ in that course. A B+, or that B+ was like an A+ for me, because it was really hard. And that was the best I could do. And that's another philosophy I have. I'm in no competition with anybody. I just try to better my best. So your success, I'm happy for you. My own is that if I got an A last semester, this semester I should not be worse than an A. So I keep trying to better my best. That's what I just try to do. So yeah, I was doing all those courses and the courses were coming out fine. And I now realized that, oh, there are so many opportunities here in this Canada. There are a lot of scholarships if you just have good grades. And hey, I didn't know. And okay, there's also something I left out. I used to volunteer a lot. One of the things that I realized that one of the things that gives me satisfaction is seeing ways I could help people. Like maybe probably it's all back to how I grew up and the kind of environment I came from and the number of young people that didn't have the kind of privileges I had. And the little opportunity I had was what kind of helped me to kind of say, leave that sphere. So in a way, I tried to help as many young people as I could. So back in OA, since from OAU days, I've been volunteering. We didn't see it as volunteering then. We just saw it as we being a member of different organizations and just doing stuff. Yeah, so I was working with Children Evangelism Ministry in OAU. I think I worked with some other groups. Then in South Africa, I was part of Adopted School Program. I was part of Shoko Education, where we go to the villages to just teach young indigent children, just help them, children, the Black communities, the poor kids that couldn't get admission into university, that struggled with maths. We organize math clinic, just teach them. All these things were volunteer things that we just do. And there's a reason I'm mentioning these things, because when I get to Vanier, I'll have to reference them later. So I wasn't doing them for anything. I was just doing them because I enjoy doing them. I enjoy to give opportunities to people and just help people. So I do all those things. When I came here to Canada, that was the first thing I tried to start doing also. I looked for ways I could volunteer. I realized that there's this program called Let's Talk Science. They teach science to school children and all. So as I signed up. I used to follow them, go perform experiments in elementary schools. And you see all these young small boys and they'll be like, wow, I want to be a scientist when I grow up and stuff like that. And those things kind of give me joy. And imagine going to some of these schools and you see a Black boy, a Black African child, and he looks at you and he looks at you like, oh, you're coming from university, oh, you're doing graduate school, and it's just like, wow, so I can also do this. There's that belief you give to people also, and I think I experienced the same thing in South Africa, because I was Black, I was African. Many of those poor indigent children in South Africa are actually from the Black communities, and they kind of see their future in you because everything they've been seeing around them is violence and all. So when they see a Black person that is also in school, it kind of give them that belief that I think I can also go to school. And when you share your own stories with them also, it's kind of, I don't know, maybe in the nearest future, one of them will even surpass the many heights and be maybe a president or whatever. But I was just sowing my own seed. So yeah, I was doing all that. So that was the little distraction I was giving myself. I was also very active in church. I'm going to point out why I said that also. I was very active in church. It was an opportunity for me to volunteer the kind of church I attend. So when there were opportunities for me to work with young people, I did not shy away from it. I took it up, even though it was going to add to the many hectic schedule I was having. I intentionally brought up my background in engineering and working in chemistry and all the readings I had to do. So as, because some of us some people that might be listening to this might be like, oh yeah, my schedule is so hectic. And there's this thing that people give to PhDs, like, oh, PhD is so busy and everything, you don't have time for any other thing. But there are people that do this PhD, they are married, they are working with young people, they are doing many other things and they are still thriving. So I just want us to demystify that. So I was doing all that and I was working in church also actively, very active. Yeah, I keep doing my thing. So initially, I told you I've always applied for any scholarship that came my way because I needed as much funds as I can get. So as the scholarship were coming, I started with graduate funding, GF, graduate fellowship in the department. And I applied for the first one, I got it. I was like, oh, so I can get a funding in chemistry, interesting. Then I applied for the second one again, I got it. Interesting, I applied for the third one. They told me there is only one you can get more than one. But interestingly, I got 3. I was like, okay, that means there was a time I was supposed to apply, but because of what someone told me that, oh, it's only one that you can't get more than one. That time I did not apply. Then I saw someone that got 2 and 3. They said, oh, because it was extraordinary, he did a lot of research. And so that means you can apply for 2 now. It's you that just choose not to apply because you thought you were not good enough. And don't worry, me, I will keep applying. Let them reject me, it's fine. So I took time out to apply and I was getting it and it started building up the confidence in me. So one of the things also and I think when you go abroad also, it's good to have a community. And my own community was church. And that was where I was able to ask enough questions from people. Because in school, the story they told me was, oh, you need to have finished your PhD, your program, and work for a year before you can get your permanent residency. But then I saw someone in church and told me that, oh no, so far you have worked before for a year or two, you can actually apply for this PR thing. I was like, eh. So this story they are telling me is different here. Yeah. This one they are telling me is different here. Yeah. Okay, like I told you now, I'm a serial applier. So I was like, okay, let's try this PR thing. So I got a PR, to the glory of God, in less than a year, after a year being in Canada. So my status changed from just students, for just normal international students, to a permanent residence. So there were other funding that started coming in. For instance, there was this funding that is British Columbia Automobile Association. The reason I applied for that scholarship, the funding was just $1,000 for it to be given to one person that is working in the field of renewable and clean energy. It was very competitive. And even though it's $1,000, I applied for it, not because of the funds. Maybe that's a lie. The fund is also important. $1,000 is not small money, at least to pay rent and buy groceries. So it was the fact that it says a story, if you get that kind of award, that among all the people working in clean tech, you are the one they choose. So I applied for it, and to the glory of God, I got it. And I think I applied for my tax. My tax, there was this caveat that was put on my tax. They were like, oh yeah, the university would only give people that don't have TA or RA jobs. So those are the people they would give. So that way that cut me off partially because I was on RA then. But then I was like, the application is free. All I just needed to do was write why I should be given this scholarship. So I was like, let me write it, let them reject me. At least I will make the person reviewing it do their job. So I applied. Interestingly, I got it. I was like, how did I get this thing again? I was not supposed to. But then if I had not applied, I would never have gotten it. So I applied and I did get it. So it all now came down to Vanier. And that I would say till date, that is the most stressful scholarship I've ever applied for. And I almost never did, because the people I saw that got Vanier, they were extraordinary people, like people that were extraordinary. I remember we had a program in our church, and we had this guy, his name was Tolu Modi. I don't know if you guys might know about him. He's now a lecturer in one of the universities, right? So when he was sharing his story, and he was like, oh, he left Nigeria. I think he went to UI. His brother went to OAU, or he went to UI. He left Nigeria. When he was in he left UI, then he went to South Africa. And I was like, oh, our story is similar. Then he was like, oh, he got a job with the UN. I was like, wow, he got a UN job. Then he was like, oh, he applied for his PhD in Canada. And in the process, he got the Vanier Award. And it was just it was very prestigious. And he had to leave his job in the UN to come take up a Vanier Award. I was like, that means this award must be for spirits, for you to leave a UN job that you are doing in Switzerland to just come and take a Vanier Award for your PhD. So that's when I started thinking about the award, and I wrote it on my wall that I was going to win the award and I was going to get the President's Scholarship. I didn't know I was going to get it, but when the application came open and I saw all the things that I needed, you needed leadership, you needed academic excellence, you also needed research potential. And I looked at it, oh, when I was in South Africa, someone told me not to write paper, but I did not listen. So I have some papers. That means I have research. Interesting. I looked at all the research I had published. Even when I came here I started working on a few things. I did some interesting work here that God helped me with, and we were able to publish 1 or 2 papers. So I realized I have like 7. I was like, I have research. Oh, yeah, okay. They said leadership. Leadership. What is this leadership? Oh, you must have volunteered. You must have worked in leadership capacity. I was a leader in church now. When they say, we make you the leader of this, I accepted it, I did not reject it. So this is leadership. I was I was vice president of young adult and singles ministry in my church. I was working with the teens. I was the president of the Boys to Men group in church. Then all those volunteering things I did in South Africa. I did Let's Talk Science. I realized that there was quite a lot of them. Those things I was doing just for doing sake, not because I was expecting anything in return. And they said academic excellence. Oh, God helped me. I had a first class in OAU. I had distinction in my master's. Interesting. But my courses here, I've had a B. They say you must have all A's. I have a B. My CGPA is not as strong. I didn't have all A pluses because I saw one guy that applied. He had A plus in all his courses. So I was like, I think I'm not qualified for this because that academic